Today's video, we're going to talk about targeting a radius around your competitors' physical locations on Google Ads and or what you could call geofencing with Google Ads. Now, normally, geofencing is where you actually put a fence, if you will, for lack of better words, around a certain area. It could be a building, could be a city, could be a country, whatever, that says to whatever advertising platform you're on that I don't want to advertise outside these areas. Other people have referred to geofencing more recently in the past. People are referring to something where you can target a smaller area, a neighborhood. It might be one particular business or building or hospital or something like this, which is really effective if you know what you're doing. And we've done this on multiple occasions, made plenty of money doing it. But normally you needed an outside platform to be able to do it. That is, prior to 2020, there was a way to do it with and through your Google Ads account and Facebook Ads account. Then privacy laws changed. Then you couldn't do it anymore. And then you had to do it through a third party in order to do that kind of targeted advertising, running banner ads to people that are just inside a building or even have been in a building before. You can watch my other video that I made specifically about geofencing and search for it on my channel homepage if you're interested in people that, have been in a building, you want to advertise to them for a while after using geofencing. Google Ads has sort of brought back geofencing to their ad platform again, where you could target people, not that have been to a certain building and then left, but while they're in that certain building or within the general vicinity of a certain building, which normally when you're doing this, it comes down to competitor targeting itself. And it could be something like, of course, you're targeting people in a certain trailer park because you have trailer park, trailer cleaning services or what have you. And you could do stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about how you do this geofencing again, now that they've sort of brought it back in a nonchalant way. You could actually see not only how to do it, but in what applications would it work. I gave you a case study here where we used it so you can see a practical application for this, and then ultimately where and if it will apply to your specific niche market. So before I get into the content though, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability of their ads upfront in excess of basically what our management fees are. We are the only agency out there which does anything like this, which should tell you something about the quality of the information that I'm sharing with you in today's video. Getting into it here. Now, Google via its radius targeting menu will let you target any business that's registered with them now through Google My Business, as they used to call it, or Google Business, or having a Google Business profile. This is something new that's came up. I don't know exactly when they implemented it because there's no official documentation out there or press release from Google saying they implemented this, but you literally, if a Google's been registered with them, you've set up your Google Business profile, you could target a radius around that particular business through your Google Ads account, and it doesn't matter what campaign type you're running. In the location settings, you could target, as it's been since the beginning, you could target a certain city or a certain country with your location targeting on a particular campaign you're running, or you could target a radius around a city or country. Lately, they've came out with something called pen mode, where you can actually, instead of targeting the radius around a city or country, you could drop a pen anywhere in the world on their map there that you have via your locations targeting menu when you open it up and say, I want to target people directly around this pen, down to 1 kilometer if you wanted to, or 1 mile. That said, they also implemented this business itself level targeting. So for instance, if you wanted to target your competitor's location and everybody who goes within a 1 kilometer radius around them, you can do that now, as long as they've set up a Google Business profile with Google. So if your competitor just has one location, you could target just that one location by entering the business name in the locations field. So when Google asks, where do you want to target? You type in the business name itself. You have to have the radius targeting option checked, by the way. Don't have the radius option checked. If you type in a business name there, it's not going to populate for you. If the radius radio button is selected and you put the business name in there and it's been registered with Google Business, and they got that business has a Google Business profile, which obviously most businesses do, then you could target that radius around that particular business. And you could target, 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers or whatever distance around that business that you want. Naturally, Google has set this up so that people that want to target a certain radius around around their local business, they can do it, or a certain radius around each one of their locations. That obviously was Google's intention when they implemented this feature, not to target people who actually are going to your competitor's location, which is what the other opportunity is with this itself. And then with that said, if you have a chain, a competitor of yours is a chain, let's say you have a local coffee shop and you want to target a 1 kilometer radius around every coffee shop in the area itself. You could, or should I say, across the world if you wanted to do that. I want to take a step backwards here. If you were a nationwide coffee company or a worldwide coffee company, and you wanted to target your direct competitor who has coffee shops all over the world as well, you wanted to target everybody within a 1 kilometer radius around all your competitors' locations, you can easily do that by typing in the chain, and it'll automatically target every business throughout that entire, all their locations of that chain. And so you don't have to, in other words, manually say, okay, I want to target a 1 kilometer radius around this particular location and this and this. If it's a chain, it'll let you target a certain radius around all their locations just with one, telling them that you want to target them all. And so if you wanted to target a 1 kilometer radius around all the McDonald's in the world, you just have to, once you have the radius targeting option selected, and then also radius targeting option, you would put in the box there, McDonald's, and then you would click save, and then it would automatically let you target a 1 kilometer radius around all the McDonald's in the world. You could do that. Just to let you know as a side thing that has be aware of what you can do with radius targeting now within Google Ads. So while the targeting is a 1 kilometer radius, and that's the minimum, it would be nice if it would let you do 1,000 feet or what have you. You can't unfortunately do that itself. And if you wanted to literally target people that are within the walls of a certain business, you could still do that. You can't do it with Google Ads itself, but programmatic ad networks out there where you can actually do this. But with the downside being that you can't track your return on investment as much, because usually the programmatic ad networks that allow you to do geofencing, which I again have a video about geofencing if you want to do this, where I talk about this using and going through programmatic ad networks to do a campaign like this. Search for it on my channel homepage or just comment below and I'll let you know what video that you need to watch for that. But normally either the network is going to take your money and say that your ads ran, or they're going to give you a self-serve ad interface to run your ad, but it's going to give you almost no data because it's not Google. They're not going to give you, information on breakdown by device and, how ad performance by ad and all this other stuff you would normally get through your Google Ads account, which is the reason why you would want to do it through Google Ads as opposed to the programmatic ad networks. However, one thing you can do, like we've done before when we've done geofencing campaigns and we wanted to target a whole mobile home park, like that was something we actually did, and for a certain builder there that wanted to promote a certain service. With that said, we have our ad blasted out there using the programmatic ad network we were working with, which if you want to also know one that I would recommend, it's in my other video / just let me know in the comment section. But we had the ad running heavy in that entire community, that trailer park itself. And then when you have your ad running heavy and you have an irresistible ad, if you were really devious, you could say free, rent to all mobile home residents in XYZ community. And then almost everybody's going to click your banner ad and go to your landing page. And then in Google Ads, you could have a remarketing campaign set up to remarket to everybody who hits that page itself. That would be one clever way to get everybody that's within a certain area like that to click on your ad itself. / if you were trying to target people who were, in a competitor's building before, not currently, but in the past, with the programmatic ad network that we used, you can also target, and you could also target that person after they leave that building for up to 30 days or whatever amount of time that you want. And then same thing with that, you could actually have an ad that says, get a discount on XYZ product at XYZ competitor location, and then have them click through and then have that build a remarketing audience. As gray area of a strategy as that might be, that would be an easy way to do it. We've done sort of stuff like that before. But with all that said, without using the programmatic ad networks, you can actually, still, like I mentioned, target down to a 1 kilometer radius around a certain competitor location. And then you could still use it to make more money than you would otherwise, even though that there's a lot of businesses, in other words, within a 1 kilometer radius. I mean, there might be 100. You might have to target people who are visiting 100 businesses to just get to the one business that you care about that they entered. That said, and with that, the geofencing strategy I'm talking about here under the radius targeting in Google Ads, what it's really doing is it's not allowing you to have a campaign that would only work if you were targeting people within a certain building. It's making a campaign that you're trying to run already now work even better, because it's going to narrow down and get rid of a lot of the waste circulation, if you will, that is in your campaigns now, so that you get a better ROI. To give you an example of this, we had an auto dealer for my case study here, now getting into that. And before I get into the case study here, by the way, if you want all these techniques like geofencing, I mean, I got a couple videos about just that, how to do that, what network to use if you're going to use that, targeting everybody who's entered your competitor's location in the last 30 days. You want to subscribe to this channel because I've got all that information here, and I come out with all the latest and greatest techniques like this that will allow you to make a lot of money with your ads if you're paying attention, because I have to test this stuff all day long as my sole job at our firm. 40 hours a week I'm doing ad testing and the strategy for our clients to figure out what's working, what's not, to guarantee the results. And I share what's working specifically and not working on this channel on the weekends. So the information you're going to get on this channel doesn't get any better than what you could you're not going to find better information elsewhere, because most of the information you see by other people, so-called experts, aren't experts. They're not running any ads. They run a couple ads. They're just trying to get clients and then have their sub out the work or whatever. It's mostly crap. So if you are serious about making money with ads, you want to subscribe to this channel at the very least. You also should check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog, and you'll find a wealth of information there, namely strategies that we use to guarantee results for our clients, again, and in a step-by-step format and with screenshots and everything you would need to use them. So you should definitely check that out as well if you like my content here. And for that matter, you can always, as a side, by the way, if you're reading any of this content on this blog, on my blog, and or watching my videos, you can always leave me a comment in the comment section. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. And that is an actual fact. You can see through the comments. You can see I always respond to comments, and unlike the other creators as well. So with that said, the auto dealer, this was actually a Ford dealership, just to be specific. Okay. Now we did, as I mentioned, this radius geofencing targeting that you can do at least within the Google Ads interface isn't a strategy in itself, because it's not targeted enough to really help you do too much, we'll just say. There's a situation where we targeted for a gentleman's club. We targeted people who are nearby the gentleman's club with an offer to get them to come to the gentleman's club, because if they're downtown going to another bar, that's the perfect prospect to get in front of with an offer, with a free drink offer, to get them into our gentleman's club, which is what we actually did. And then you could do a radius targeting around individual, like the center of the businesses that are by the business, and it would be a strategy in itself. So we just targeted one business within the main downtown bar area, and with the understanding that the ad would run there so that people would walk down, the street further to get to our location, which was a little way away. That's an actual situation where we use geofencing in Google Ads, given how not very accurate it is, because you can only go down to 1 kilometer radius, where it actually was a standalone strategy that made a campaign work, and we were able to use it for our entire targeting strategy itself. This car dealer, where it was a more ideal situation, it was more profitable to run this campaign. It scaled more. We were able to make more actual revenue from it, but it wasn't a standalone strategy. So I can't use this radius targeting around our competitor's location as its own thing. That was the be all end all for the targeting that we needed to make the campaign work. What we did was we targeted a 1 kilometer radius around all the other car dealerships in the area, especially the other Ford dealerships that we were directly competing against. And what we had though with that, given that wasn't our only targeting option, we had in-market audiences. So if somebody was looking for any of the newer models of Ford vehicles that were coming out, so we just made a list of them. And then so if somebody on Google recently made a search for any of those before, and they're looking for reviews, or even looking to, they're looking to buy, buyer's guides, anything like that. So we had that on a custom intent audience. And so if somebody recently was searching for the 2015 Ford Taurus itself, then that would put them in stage 1 of the targeting. So they had to have at least done that in the recent past, like the last 30 days, and they had to be within a 1 kilometer radius of our competitor's location. So basically in the location of our competitor, and obviously, or within a 1 kilometer radius of them, given that we can't actually target, at least through Google Ads, like I mentioned, people that are in the competitor's location and nothing outside that itself at all. As you can see what we're doing here, the chances of somebody who's recently looked for a review of the new Ford Taurus that came out and they're within the general vicinity of our competitor's auto dealership, which usually, if you don't know, all auto dealerships usually group in the same area. So in this particular case, it was rather practical to target a 1 kilometer radius around our competitor's location because it gets everybody, that whole area, that whole kilometer radius almost is just car dealerships, if you will, because there's pockets of them around. They're usually not standalone car dealerships that are not by any other car dealership. So with that said, we got somebody we know is in market for a car, and then they look like they're going to go buy a car because they're in the area where car dealerships exist. So we could target them with our ad to convince them to come in. And we had a contest that we were running where somebody could guess, we had a big jar and with keys in it. And if they could guess, how many keys were in there, we would give them an amazing deal on a new vehicle, basically practically giving it away. There's a huge jar and like 1 in 1,000 people are going to be able to guess right, which you're ultimately not making much margin on the cars itself, but in order to get, 1,000 leads, and all we have to do is just let them come in, which, we're not giving them anything up front. It was workable, so to say. We ran the same ads on Facebook. And so with that said, we would run display ads for anybody within the car dealership's area that has recently searched for a new vehicle. So we know that they're in market for a Ford vehicle, and we know they're open to buying a Ford vehicle, and we marketed to them while they're at those competing dealerships, or at least seem like could be, or at least it was nearby our competitor dealerships. So with that said, our CPA, just to let you know the results on this, so we were already doing well if somebody was researching a new Ford vehicle, a 2015 version, that we actually did not need to do anything else to make the campaign profitable. It was bringing in people into the store at a decent rate, which you can track store visits using Google Ads now. If you're not familiar with it, you can absolutely do that itself. You also can, for people to enter the contest to win a new vehicle, they have to put their email address, their phone number. We could upload that to Google Ads, and via their offline conversion tracking process, we could track how many people saw our ad, clicked through, and then actually came in. And we had, that would keep the dealership full of people that, we know are in market for a new Ford anyway, which is the perfect people we want in there, which is why it was so smart to run that campaign. But when we added the requirement on the campaigns that we were running, the Google display campaign, we also ran YouTube campaigns, that the person had to actually be near or in competitors' dealerships. The cost per action that we were paying for went down significantly. Specifically, it went down right around 65%. So the cost of what we were paying to get someone in the door went down by 65%. Once we mandated to Google that somebody must be either in or near the car dealership in order to see this ad, so to say. So like I said, this was particularly good to use it in this market because usually all the car dealerships are within one area. So if we know where they're, even if it's a 1 kilometer radius targeting area, the chances are high that they're down there to get a new car itself, and they're actively close to buying one. I will tell you as well that this geofencing on Google Ads would only probably be effective for you if there's a long sales cycle. So meaning, like with my example here, somebody could do research and then not buy right away. So we have time to market to them before they buy. And somebody spends a lot of time at your competitor's location. Like a car dealership, you can be there for hours easily, so that we have a good chance of getting in front of them while they're still at the location, obviously, to make it work. So if you don't have both of those, then it wouldn't necessarily work that well. I've thought about using this in other situations, like you have a client who sells golf clubs and related golf gear. We could market to people that are near our competitors' locations, but how long are they actually spending in that location? Going to be looking at their phone when they're there. Yeah, some, but it's not nearly as good as a car dealership where they're there for a while, asking questions, and then we could get, and if they're looking at their car, because on top of that, something else to consider here. when you're going to be buying something more expensive like a golf club that can be hundreds of dollars for a single club, you are going to go on your phone and research stuff. And if you can have a mobile ad pop up for them while they're in the store, that will be effective. And at a car dealership, you're going to be doing that a ton because you're not going to be buying a car before you research it. And a lot of times people will want to go home before they make a decision because they want to really research it. But a lot of people will just search on their phone, and then you can have your ad pop up for them while they're at the dealership, which is much better, obviously, than if they're just at home and they were searching for information about a new car, but they're not near a dealership, indicating that they're really serious about buying. But once they get to the dealership, you should be just absolutely pounding that audience as much as possible. Pay for every impression you can get, basically. So that was a huge difference in our CPA cost when we could target people that were in that car dealership, region or territory of the city, to where, making 65% more, well, not ROI, but the cost per lead was 65% less. So that's a perfect example where you could use a real example where you could use geofencing specifically on Google Ads and actually make it useful for you. Like the Gentleman's Club, you could actually target people around your competitor's location like that, potentially, or indirect competitor, another bar, like we did in our example. And you might be able to get it to work like that in and itself. For most of you guys, you're still, to really make sense of a geofencing campaign, you need to target the individual business, or, like we had before, personal injury lawyers that would target people that were near a helipad, and they needed to target people that were near the helipad, not a 1 kilometer radius around the hospital, because it wouldn't be targeted enough. But once, with display advertising, once you are certain enough about somebody that could buy, it'll be profitable. It's just a question of, can you narrow it down enough? And of course, have a good offer. But anybody that was near a helipad, it doesn't matter what the cost to get in front of it is. You just want an unlimited amount of impressions, which is what we had in that case. So anyway, in a lot of occasions, you're going to have to use programmatic ad networks to get to where you can target people within a certain building itself, and then to actually have a decent amount of chance to have it work, given a person doesn't spend very long at a competitor location. Maybe they only spend 5 minutes at a check cashing place. You want to market to everybody who's been to the check cashing place afterwards for up to 30 days. You need a programmatic ad network for that, which in that case, by the way, too, you can run a custom intent audience, and anybody who's been to your competitor's check cashing place website, you could also market to them. But for that market, most people don't go to websites. They go to a brick and mortar location, and you would actually want a geofencing campaign to make that work. And that's something we also have done before in that particular market. So anyway, with that said, that pretty much spells out how to use this feature in a practical way. If you aren't sure what to do quite yet, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com, and you can ask myself. We can have a phone conversation. We can go over the details of what you're trying to do, and I can let you know how I would actually go about doing it. We of course charge to help execute our services, but the initial consultation is free. Along with that, though, we also do paid coaching. I do one-on-one paid coaching with other agencies and other companies alike, and I can go through everything in terms of what you're doing in terms of pricing, your website design, and find out what the bottleneck is with what you're doing right now that's stopping you from getting to the next level with your ads. And I've been offering that service as well. Actually, anybody who's gotten our coaching so far has came back for more coaching hours or coaching sessions, or they said they were going to come back because the information is so good, because I've got 20 years of small business marketing experience to understand where the bottlenecks are that get ads to either work or stop working. So, and then with that, we also have been offering in the last year or so ad templates. If we've already worked in your niche market, we could sell you the winning ad templates, the landing page templates, the campaign templates, the ad templates that work for your niche market. And we could copy paste those into your ad account after selling them to you. Of course, you can do it, I should say. And you get the same results that we're going to get in your niche, but in a different city or country. We got people that use these templates to start whole other businesses from scratch. And because the template's set up perfectly to make money in that niche, it's a gimme to get that business to work. We got people that use and sell the leads that the template produces to other business owners. We got people that sub out work as a way to make money using the template. So if you're interested in that, you can let me know. We got templates in over 100 different niche markets, so the chances are high we've already got the results you're looking for from and using it. With that said, I'm pretty well gave you the lowdown on the radius / geofencing targeting that Google Ads has provided us now that we can use. And now that you're aware of it, you can use it. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said Google ADs was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.